The show Barry.
Barry. Oh yeah, I saw a commercial for it. That's how I know Henry. Oh, there's Henry Winkler.
He's an assassin who decides he wants to become an actor, but he's a terrible actor.
Yeah.
And Henry Winkler's his acting coach.
Oh wow.
It's really funny. It's really good.
This'll blow your mind, but Henry Winkler actually played Gorgeous George.
He's so little.
I'm not lying. I know. He played Gorgeous George in a movie where he had figured out the inside business of wrestling and was making money off of it, but he actually played Gorgeous George in a movie. And then there's another movie where him and Harrison Ford are disturbed Vietnam vets.
I think I saw that movie.
And Harrison Ford goes out to the park to kill himself or something like that, and Henry Winkler goes out there and beats the shit out of Fonzie beats the shit out of Indiana Jones.
Well, it's funny because when you were a kid, you thought Fonzie was the toughest guy on the planet.
Oh yeah,
you don't realize he's
t-shirt
5'6"
and a little Jewish guy. But he was playing an Italian biker badass. And everyone was terrified of him.
5'6" and 150 pounds.
Yeah.
And Henry Winkler, and he was the toughest man around.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody to episode 9. Can you believe we're on number 9 here?
Yeah, we're almost in double digits here.
So the last one we did was top 10 superhero movies that millennials have never seen, and so we decided why not do top 10 real life superhero movies?
Yeah.
Millennials have never seen, and with the catalyst being our true real-life superhero that we have right here, which I've said it before, if you want to know the full story behind superhero, look at Portrait of a Superhero right on this same YouTube channel. Subscribe, all the other things, so that you can keep following us and get your notifications on when we do new ones. So let's jump right in here. Top 10 real-life superhero movies millennials have never seen. Maybe some millennials and younger have seen this. Maybe they haven't, but
I doubt it.
But
now back in the day when these movies were a big, not when these movies were a big thing, when I was a big thing.
Yeah.
In like 2011, 2012, when the HBO documentary Superheroes came out, and I was a big thing. I could go to a convention in my suit, and I'd have as big of a crowd as some of the actors that were sitting there. Of course, I'm not at a table, so I'm just surrounded with people and everything like that, and they all wanted to know, how do you do it? Have you ever beat up a bad guy? What do you do? What happens when you're out there patrolling? And one of the things they would ask me is, what kind of movies are real-life superhero movies?
Yeah.
And, to me, they fit a specific criteria. Guy can't have powers. Has to be taken in a universe where there aren't any powers, and he has to start out as an ordinary guy and finish up as a superhero and save the day.
Right.
So those were basically my criteria for what is a real-life superhero movie, because a lot of these kids that do it now, the superhero thing, they just watch the MCU and the DCU stuff, and they're like, oh, that's good enough. And that
doesn't really tell you how to be a real life
there's
superhero.
Powers and CGI aliens, armies of them and everything like that. So I would always recommend movies to people that met that criteria. No powers, no...
Not that you would necessarily... So honorable mention starting out here is the 1989 Punisher with Dolph Lundgren. Not that you necessarily recommend getting some automatic weapons and plowing through criminals in the street.
But Dolph, this movie, and the fact that it is kind of removed from the rest of the Punisher movies is why this gets special mention. Dolph is a great Punisher.
Yeah.
He was great in the part. There he is with a big old M60 coming down through the roof and taking out the drug dealers and the mob lords and everything like that. You could not.
And Louis Gossett Jr. How many films have we talked about that have Louis Gossett Jr.
he just shows up in everything.
Yeah.
But you couldn't make this movie now because he's fighting the Yakuza in here, and there's all kinds of inappropriate, offensive by today's standards.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Japanese stuff, I think.
Oh, I have to watch it again and see.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they're the bad guys.
Well, that's true, but we'd have to watch some, let a Gen Zer tell us if it's offensive or not. But Dolph is a cop who loses his family. A mob boss tries to blow him up,
Yep.
and he ends up killing the family instead. So Dolph goes out, he lives in the sewer, and he comes out with a heavy artillery and stuff, and just kills all the mob bosses.
And it's the same basic story of all the Punishers, same concept, cop, and this happens.
The difference is, unlike in the comic, where Frank just goes around and blasts everybody, and hi Frank, as the cops, he goes driving by in the war wagon, he's wanted for I think Lou Gossett says 132 murders or something like that, and the cops are after him too, which is what would happen.
What would happen.
Right, exactly. So
and in the original, when the Punisher was introduced in Spider-Man, the cops were after the Punisher because he was a vigilante that they were trying to catch.
Yeah.
And so Spider-Man was, even though
I remember that, he ran into the Tarantula too.
Yeah.
It was Tarantula, Spider-Man, and Punisher in the first one, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to have that issue. Ended up selling it many years ago when I needed to get brakes on my car. So, the Punisher and Spider-Man paid for the brakes on my car.
Well, that was nice.
At that point in time.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's honorable mention. That's as we get started on the list here. So that's not.
That's honorable. Dolph always gets honorable mention.
Yes, absolutely. He's awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. Which I do like the Thomas Jane.
He looks Punisher weird with the dark hair in there, though, doesn't he? He's hard. And I think the makeup was the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
I think.
So
here we go.
Coming in at number 10 on the list, Condorman, which this was a Disney film.
Yep. It bombed horribly in the theaters.
Yeah.
But now it has a cult following. And this guy is, if I remember correctly, he's a comic book writer.
Yeah.
And he won't let Condorman do anything in the comics unless he can do it in real life.
Ah.
And he has an awesome fucking car. It's called a Nova Sterling. It's a kit car.
Yeah.
And yes, it can really go amphibious.
Ah, cool.
I've seen ones that have been converted to do that. The whole top of them opens up. There's also one in the end of Death Race 2000. But it's great fun. There it goes.
There it is.
Yeah. And the kids may remember Condorman because there was a little short a while ago, a Toy Story short where they had all the toys that were in the Happy Meals, and one of them was Condorman.
Really?
It was the head and the little car and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a throwback to Condorman.
I remember Condorman.
But anyways, Barbara Carrera's in it, who's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, there's your amphibious. It had the inflatables on the side.
And this guy, he's a wealthy comic book writer, so he...
Well, that's how you know. That's how you know it's fantasy, because you become wealthy being a comic book writer.
Well, some of them.
So actually, some of them.
You'd have enough to afford a Nova Sterling.
Some of them have back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, and there he goes.
Yeah, it's got the inflatables on.
But yeah, it meets the criteria for a real live superhero. I think MST3K may have done this.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
But it's great. It's funny. It meets the criteria for a real live superhero movie. Check it out.
Well, that was number 10 on the list after the Punisher at special mention there. But coming in now, number 9. This is one that they may have seen.
Oh, they've all seen
More than likely.
More than likely, they've all seen it.
But it's 10 years old, so...
Now, the reason I brought this one up is because usually the comic is better than the movie.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of this MCU and DCU stuff isn't, because they make it for a general audience. Mm-hmm. Spawn, they made the Spawn movie years ago, and with Martin Sheen, and it tanked horribly, even though it is the most true to the comic movie about a comic ever made.
Yeah.
And the general consensus was, we will never do that again. And that's why all the comic movies you have now, the characters have different backgrounds, they look different, they've got all this weird latex armor on, they don't look anything like they do in the comics, but it's a successful formula now.
Yeah.
So that's why they keep making them.
But you like Kick-Ass better than the comic.
Yes. I took Karen, I read the comic. It was by Mark Millar, I think, and John Romatima Jr., who worked on Iron Man.
Yeah.
And the comic is so dark.
Yeah.
And so gruesome. And I took Karen, before we walked through the door of the theater, I said, I'm just warning you. This is going to be a very, this isn't going to be a feel-good experience or anything.
Yeah.
But the movie really was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was great. I mean, there were characters in the book.
Comedy.
You were happy when they were dead.
Right.
But the way they changed them in here, you were upset when they were dead.
Right.
And it was just very well done. Very well done. And it meets the criteria.
And it's a fun
guy
movie.
without powers, girl without powers. That's Chloe Moritz, right?
Yeah.
She went on to do big things.
Yeah, she's obviously older now.
Yeah, but and I liked it because,
and of course, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, it actually improved on the comic, which is unbelievably rare.
Yeah.
Very seldomly a movie about a book or a comic is superior to that book or comic, but this was. So, enjoy it.
Which, you've probably seen it. Watch it again.
Yeah.
Because it's on the list.
They had a sequel, too.
That's right. So this one...
This meets the criteria even though there's a guy with powers in it. And the reason is, I started superheroing back in 1998, and I did it for years, as a wrestler and a TV guy, and then out in the street. Do you remember big blonde Brandon from the gym over there on Bayside Plaza? He worked behind the counter.
Yeah.
He's a big kid.
Yeah.
He may have been a mauler, but he was the biggest geek on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And he found out what I was doing, and that's cool. And so one night I pulled up in the vet when it was closing and said, get in, and took him on a patrol just to give him a thrill.
Yeah.
And while we were in the car, he says, you need to read the Watchmen if this is what you're going to do. And I was like, really, why is that? And he says, because it's about a bunch of guys who don't have powers trying to be superheroes and how they fuck everything up. And I'm like, okay. So I read it fanatically. This was years before the movie.
Oh, yeah. No, the movie was 2000.
And he was absolutely right. It kind of became a Bible.
Right.
Because right about the same time that he told me about it, MySpace and message boards and things like that started becoming a thing.
Yeah.
And I would tell everybody who asked me, what should I do? What should I read? I said, The Watchmen. The Watchmen is a Bible for being a real-life superhero.
Yeah.
And later on, the before Watchmen books, of all those, the Dollar Bill one-shot, that speaks to me.
Yeah.
I kind of relate to Dollar Bill. But they were incredible. And the movie is just as good. And it meets the criteria for real-life superheroes, except for Dr. Manhattan.
Right.
And the series that was on recently, I got to see the first 3 or 4 episodes of that before
on HBO,
it got yanked off of Hulu, and it was shaping up to be the same way. So those qualified.
That's odd. They didn't put the whole thing on Hulu? Or?
Well, they did, but I didn't watch it in time.
Oh, it was like a
now they want
thing.
me to pay extra to have HBO so I can see the rest of it.
What you do is you get the 7-day free trial.
Oh.
And then you cancel the trial before you have to pay for it.
Okay, because I liked that. They had a Soviet cop in there, because in their universe, the Soviet Union never fell.
Yeah.
And they had a Soviet exchange cop called Red Scare. Was that what they called him? Red Scare, Red Terror, something like that?
I don't remember.
And but anyway, so Watchmen, is another good one qualifies for a real-life superhero movie. And years later...
Get the free trial so you can watch the rest of the series, because you'll like it.
You have to put a still up here so people will believe me. I actually got to be Patrick Wilson's bodyguard.
Yeah.
Right after he shot it, and he let me interview him about being a real-life superhero. You can see that on my YouTube channel.
Yes.
And
we'll put your channel.
Yeah, he
right
was
here.
very good-natured about it.
Yeah. So. No, he was great. Yeah, Patrick's great. He's a great guy. He's grew up here in St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
And so
big name actor.
St. Pete guy and everything.
Yeah, that made it big.
Yeah.
He was just in Midway. I saw him in Midway.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was very good-natured about it.
Yeah.
The interview's great. You got to say it's hilarious because I told the people in the superhero community, I'm going to get to interview Night Owl 2.
Yeah.
What should I ask him? And all these people on the message boards gave me questions, and I picked like the top 10 best ones, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what I asked him. And he was very good-natured about it. He was very good.
I remember I was there when you were doing the interview. That was a lot of fun.
Great guy. So Watchmen, add that onto your real-life superhero list.
Yeah, because what real-life superhero list wouldn't have Watchmen on it? So there's a couple movies on here that you may have seen, but it's a fairly limited selection of real-life superhero movies, so...
Oh!
And so here, The Shadow.
This is a great one, but I mean, nowadays it's considered to be horribly offensive with, like, the Asian stereotypes in it and everything. Ian McKellen, Magneto, he's in here. Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin, of course,
Peter Boyle is his right-hand man.
Yeah.
And everything. And it's based on an old 1930s radio serial called The Shadow. About this guy that learns in Asia how to warp men's minds and everything like that. And it's not really a superpower. He's more like power of suggestion.
Yeah.
So I guess that's real.
Yeah, and it used to have if you would listen and find the old, who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
The Shadow knows. Yeah, that's what that's from. Yeah. And it's action-packed. It's a great movie. It meets all the criteria that I was talking about. And one thing that I really like about it is, it's funny because he's using this power of men's minds and everything. Maybe they'll show it in here. But one of the Mongols, they're actually Mongols that come after him. And one of them, he's, in this laboratory messing them all up with the power of men's minds. Well, one of them sees his shadow and sticks him to the wall with a crossbow bolt through his jacket, and he's stuck there. So they're all coming to get him, and he goes, fuck this, and pulls out a couple of long slide 45s and starts blasting away at these guys. Fuck the power of men's minds. And starts, it's time. And I used to tell guys, too, there's a time when it's time to pull out a gun.
Yeah.
If you can legally carry one where you are, of course, if you can get a permit, there is a time to pull out a gun. And a lot of these guys, well, what kind of superhero would carry a gun? An alive one.
Yeah. Well,
is what I would tell
How
them.
about the original Batman?
Right. And I was known for that. Mine just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger over time, where I finally was carrying a snub-nosed stainless steel 44 Magnum with me. I had to have an extra big red fanny pack to carry the goddamn thing in, because it was an artillery piece. And but there is a time, if you're going to be if you're going to be a real live superhero, you can take all the martial arts and everything you want. That's fine. I was a pro wrestler. I can bust someone's skull open. I know how to do it. But there's a time when it's finally time to pull out a gun.
Well,
and the Shadow
you don't have powers,
right?
And you're not bulletproof,
right?
So.
I wore vests. I wore a level 3 bulletproof vest when I was down doing that anti-mugging thing. When the bicycle muggers were rampant in St. Pete, and I was down there trying to catch them, I had a fucking level 3 vest on with a stab plate in it. But there's gonna be a time where you're gonna have to, ante up. That's just what it comes down to. And the Shadow antes up.
Yeah. And so, sort of in the same vein as the Shadow, the Phantom. This was a radio play in the same time frame.
It was, and Tom Tyler from the Sadistic Adventures of Captain Marvel played him in the serial.
Right.
But are you sure it was a radio show? Because he is older than Batman. And it was in the Sunday Funnies.
I mean, it could have been Sunday. Well, both of them could be Sunday Funnies, radio play, serials back in the day, all of that.
Right.
Think of kind of whatever was the 1930s. He was definitely a comic character.
And he is older, but he wasn't a comic. It was the Sunday Funnies. I remember I'd see him in there all the time.
Yeah, when I say comics, I meant the Sunday comics.
And my dad was a huge fan of it. We'd read, every Sunday. We'd have to see what the Phantom was up to. And he was like a jungle lord, and he was the descendant of every Phantom. Like every Phantom had been. Right. There's even one, they did a cartoon, the same people that did Aeon Flux did it, of the Phantom in the future.
Yeah.
And he's the descendant of, I think Kit was the name of this Phantom, if I remember correctly.
And this Phantom has guns as well.
Yep, and they go back in time, and you see a pirate Phantom who's got the boots and the cape and everything. The Phantom's been around forever. One of the guys, you put a still up of it. I made an action figure of the Phantom. And one of the guys that worked on the film in Australia saw it And I said, well, you can just have it. And I shipped it to Australia to him. It took 10 days to get there, I think, which was pretty amazingly quick.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was telling me that the reason the Phantom didn't have his trademark stripy trunks in the movie, he says he actually did for the first few days of production. And then they
just couldn't see him on camera.
They said they're silly.
Yeah.
Take them off. Okay, the guy's running around in a head-to-toe purple unitard.
Right.
But his stripy trunks are silly.
Right.
My blue trunks.
Yeah.
Or take your trunks off. And they reshot all the stuff without the trunks and kept moving forward. But for some weird reason, they thought, but that's his trademark.
The striped trunks, step too far. Purple unitard, fine.
But those were his trademark. Those in the 45s.
Yeah.
That was his trademark, was the stripy trunks.
Striped trunks, step too far. Purple unitard.
It's really weird, the decisions that some of these production companies make.
Leaping from
on the fly.
from an airplane to a horse, that's fine. But striped trunks, that's too much.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he did do that.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, and that was Billy Zane.
Yeah,
great actor. Most people, he played the devil in something, and he was really good. I think it was the first time he shaved his head too.
I don't know.
He was the crazy guy in Dead Calm. And he's had a great career, but he played the Phantom in that.
Yeah, he was Phantom, and that was and so we're hitting some stuff here from the '90s. So the Shadow, the Phantom, and now this Prey of the Jaguar. This is one I was not familiar with at all. You
can see it for free on YouTube.
Yeah,
I just found that out, so don't worry about looking for it. The only reason I know this exists is because 20 years ago, I worked for a TV network that was really desperate for material.
Oh, yeah?
At the time. And this movie just happened to come up out of nowhere.
Really?
On the screen. And, of course, everybody's master control and just watching it and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm intently watching it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a damn good movie. And it's about this guy. He used to work for, the DEA or something. He was an undercover guy. He rats out this guy. Mm-hmm. This guy comes back to kill him, but he's got a whiskey flask or something in his jacket that saves him.
The old whiskey flask in the jacket.
He gets home, and the drug dealer went home and killed his wife, his pregnant wife, killed his kid. There's blood all over the place. But his kid had come up with this imaginary superhero they drew pictures of and everything called the Jaguar. So the dad who lived decides he's going to become this kid's superhero.
Oh, interesting.
And he gets John Fujoka to teach him the martial arts, and he gets a toy maker to make all the tools that the Jaguar would have that the little boy designed.
Yeah.
And as the dead little boy's superhero, he goes back after the drug dealers. And so it definitely fits. It's very obscure, but you can see it on YouTube for free. Just type in Prey of the Jaguar. It comes up with the full runtime. It's under 90 minutes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, great movie.
Now we have to watch
commercials.
We have to watch a commercial. What are we watching here? Something that MailChimp.
So Prey of the Jaguar.
So Super.
This is a great one.
Which Rainn Wilson.
Once you get past the hentai tentacle rape and underage girls attacking men my age and forcing them to have sex with them, and I know, it's just disgusting, but it fits. You have to watch it twice because the first, with their head half blown off and everything, and they make it look so real.
Huh.
And, but Rainn Wilson plays this guy whose wife, Neve Campbell, I think.
She could cast.
Yeah, and ends up, she goes for Kevin Bacon, this drug dealer.
Well, of course.
And he's deeply religious, so he becomes a superhero to go get her back.
Right.
And even though this is all great, and it's a real-life superhero movie and everything, he fits all the criteria. Who really steals the movie is Nathan Fillion.
Oh, really?
He plays this Bible man type character named Holy Crusader. Where is he? I thought that was him for a second. And he convinces the guy to become a superhero in some dream sequence, and that's when the hentai tentacle rape happens. But it's a good movie.
Well, and I like the little part there where she's like, "This is it," and
Yeah.
We're just waiting for crime to happen. This is
Well, that's what you do.
This is boring.
That's really what convinced me that it was good, was because the scene of them sitting behind a dumpster, that's a lot of what you do.
Yeah.
You walk around, you drive around. People don't realize that, it's 99% boredom for one moment of sheer terror. And that's a lot. Oh, there he is.
There he is, Nathan.
And that's a lot of what you would end up doing, is just, that's why a lot of real life superheroes end up turning to philanthropy and stuff like that, just because it's hard to find crime.
Well, yeah,
I've had a few instances.
There's
Yeah.
tentacle dream sequence.
Yeah, but
craziness.
But yeah, that's what really makes is them sitting around waiting for something to happen.
Right.
And because that is part of what being a real life superhero is. That's we're involved in this new thing and everything. You go out and find things to do because, the rest of the time you're driving around in the supermobile, if you're lucky enough to have one, or sitting behind a dumpster waiting for crime to happen.
And here is another one with another great actor, Woody Harrelson.
Oh.
Defendor.
Now, this, I think there's a very famous real-life superhero named Master Legend.
Yeah.
Who works out of Orlando. Him and me have worked together on a few occasions. I think he should have gotten a check for this.
Yeah.
I think this is one of these things, because I've worked with the guy personally. This is one of those things where they changed the story just enough that they didn't have to pay him.
Right.
And I'm sure you've seen plenty of stories about that.
Yeah.
And this came out after the Rolling Stone article.
Interesting.
Remember that one?
Yeah, of course.
That's what really made me and Master Legend.
Yeah, because that Rolling Stone article was like 2008, maybe?
Right, and that's what really made me and Master Legend, I wouldn't say household names, but famous enough that people started paying attention to us. And then this came out. And this character is Master Legend.
Yeah.
That's just all there is to it.
Yeah.
He was so... I mean, it's Master Legend.
Yeah.
It's the exact same guy. He's got the helmet.
Yeah, it's very similar in look.
Yeah, the look, the way the armor looks, the way the outfit is put together. And I think ML got screwed out of a check. Great movie.
Probably.
Great movie, but I think one of my friends got... You can actually see the difference. There's a pilot on Amazon.com about Master Legend.
The Legend of Master
Legend. The Legend of Master Legend.
Yeah.
So compare Defendor to that, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they just did the one episode for that, and they never turned it into a full series.
And it won. It and that other one about the preacher in space tied for first place, so they should have gotten a series, and then Amazon just said, we're not going to go in that direction.
Yeah, it's so weird. Hard to predict what these what the streamers and networks are going to do on a lot of their shows. And so I know this is another one that that you love here.
Oh, this is one of the best.
Special.
I love Michael Rappaport.
Yeah.
He just seems in everything. I watched that show that he had even that didn't last long, that was the lead-in from The Simpsons. And he just seems like a guy you want to hang out and have a beer with or something like that. He's just a really cool guy. But anyway, he starts taking this pill for depression. And you can't, that's the thing. Does he have superpowers? Because there's a few moments in here that even you're like, wait a minute. How did he do that?
Right.
But the premise of it is it starts out as what you call the phantom tackler.
Yeah.
Because he's a big guy.
Yeah, Michael Rappaport's a big dude.
Yeah. And he starts taking this pill, and all of a sudden either he thinks he's getting powers or he is getting powers.
Right. But they leave you so you can't really...
But the end of the message of it at the end is, even if he doesn't have powers, you're never going to stop him.
Right.
He just says, he says, you're never going to stop me. This guy keeps hitting him with a limo over and over again.
Yeah.
And he just keeps getting up. And that's pretty much the message of it. Even if you don't have powers, and see, he talks to himself from the future.
Yeah.
And but that's the message: is doesn't matter if you have powers or not. Keep getting up.
Keep getting up. Yeah.
And that's what makes it such a great movie and a great one for.
Now here, number one on the list.
This is absolutely number one.
And
there will never be a better movie about being a real life superhero than John Ritter.
Yeah.
as Captain Avenger in
Hero at Large.
Hero at Large.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and watch this movie. If you don't watch any other movie on this list, watch this one.
Right. This is great. This is the best one by far.
Yeah.
John Ritter, this is before he was famous, before Three's Company. And he starts out as an actor, and he's playing Captain Avenger at movie theaters and stuff that are airing this Captain Avenger movie. And he's headed home one night in the suit, and he accidentally stumbles across a robbery.
Yeah.
So he stops the robbery. And this kind of makes him an underground celebrity.
Yeah.
So from there, he goes overboard with it and ends up getting himself shot, which I cannot believe has not happened.
Oh, I know.
In the 20 years that I've been doing it, that one of that we've had to throw our dress uniforms on, the ones that have capes and stuff, and go to a funeral somewhere in the country. But I can't believe it hasn't happened. But anyway, so then a company figures out who he is, the Captain Avenger company.
Yeah.
And they start staging things for him to break up and stop and everything like that. And it turns into a fiasco, but he comes out ahead in the end.
Yeah, don't want to give away the ending.
Right, it has a happy ending, and but it is great, and it is the movie about being a real-life superhero.
Yeah, it's really, the way that they play this whole thing, the way they play the whole thing out, even more so than some of the modern ones on what it would really kind of be like.
Yeah.
They do a great job.
Right, they do an incredible job of it.
I remember seeing this as a little kid and just loving it, and every time it would come on TV, I would watch it every single time, and it was always great.
Him, a lot of celebrities die.
Yeah.
And some of them you even shed a tear for in this kind of thing if you really loved them or something like that. But him and Rodney Dangerfield, oddly, are the two that I felt a real sense of loss.
Really?
And I think that, for Rodney Dangerfield, it was like, oh, God, there's never going to be anybody that funny again.
Yeah.
How is the world going to live without Rodney Dangerfield? He was just so goddamn funny.
Yeah.
And John Ritter, I think what it was is most people our age kind of viewed him as a family member. Because even when Three's Company was so popular, he was always on.
Yeah.
And then when it was in syndication, it would be on in the afternoon. Your parents would have it on in the background during dinner and that kind of thing.
It was on forever.
So it was like he was a family member.
Yeah. And he did more than that. People don't realize he was a movie star. Like he had several films that were pretty big films, comedies generally, that he did really well with.
And he was a very physical comedian.
Yes,
he had like a Jerry Lewis
physical
type.
comedy. Yeah. He did a great job with physical comedy.
Yeah, but those are the two celebrities. Oddly, you felt a real God, John.
And
Ritter's dead.
his son is a successful actor.
He was on the set with the one from Wings, the beautiful redheaded woman who's also in Dracula Dead and Loving It. She was playing his wife when he dropped dead right there on the set. No, that's his actual wife. Why can't I think of her name? Beautiful woman.
The actress in his last film is what you're trying to think of.
No, in real life, she's his wife. Katie Seagal was playing his wife in the show he was working on when he just keeled over in front of her.
Well, we could always try this. Alexa, who was John Ritter's wife?
John Ritter was married twice, to Nancy Morgan, from 1977 to 1996, and Amy Yosbeck, from 1999 to 2003.
That's her.
There you go.
Yeah, Amy Yosbeck was his wife, but on the show, Katie Seagal was playing his wife, and he just, boom, right there on the spot. I don't know, it was like a heart attack or a heart defect or something like that, but he wasn't that old.
No, he wasn't. Alexa, how old was John Ritter when he died?
John Ritter died at 54 years
54.
old on September
Wow.
11th, 2003 in Burbank, California. His cause of death was aortic dissection.
Aortic dissection, so that's the heart, obviously.
Well, that's the big artery. That's the one on me that's going to explode from all the years training too
54,
heavy.
54, it's crazy to think 54,
God,
considering that I just turned 50 this year.
I'm 51.
So,
I'm going up on 52.
So only few more years. And
yeah, but John Ritter, iconic for Three's Company and should be iconic for Hero at Large, because that is the greatest movie about being a real-life superhero ever made. Yeah.
Well, there you have it. So, thank you for tuning in to this episode. We hope you liked it. If you did, give us a like, a thumbs up, a subscribe. Let us know in the comments. Let us know what other topics you'd like us to cover, what other films, whatever other else.
Give it to us.
We're up for it. We're up for whatever you want to see. So, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.